The Aces expansions present an interesting problem for Fantasy Flight's X-Wing designers. How do you get players to buy extra copies of ships they already own? The answer, as you'd suspect, is to include must-have pilots and upgrades that you can't get anywhere else. Rebel Aces does exactly that, giving the A-Wing and B-Wing several amazing new options. Because of this expansion, I'm looking forward to putting an A-Wing into one of my squadrons for the first time ever. Okay, before I jump into the contents of this expansion, let's take a look at the stars of the show, the new versions of the A-Wing and B-Wing. The A-Wing is painted in prototype colors with a nice blue and gold design. It looks good. The B-Wing has the Dagger Squadron paint scheme, which is nice since Dagger Squadron Pilot is one of the non-unique pilots in the game, and also because this expansion gives us the first Dagger Squadron Ace pilot. Now, I've already done videos on both the A-Wing and B-Wing expansion packs, so if you haven't watched those and want to know more about these starfighters, I suggest that you check them out. I'm not going to talk much about the specifics of each ship in this video. Instead, I'm going to focus on what Rebel Aces does for them. Let's start with the A-Wing. This is a ship that came into the game in Wave 2, and it was intended to fill two roles for the Rebels. It could act as an inexpensive missile platform, or you could field up to 5 of them to give the Rebels a sort of swarm build. Unfortunately, Wave 4's Z95 Headhunter does both of those things better, and the A-Wing was sidelined. It just didn't bring enough to the table to justify spending the points when you could take an X-Wing or a B-Wing instead. Okay, so right away we've got an amazing A-Wing pilot. Jake Farrell costs 24 points and has a pilot skill of 7. When he takes a focus action or is assigned a focus token, he can perform a free boost or barrel roll action. This is a fantastic ability, not only because it allows Farrell to take 2 actions, but also because we finally have an A-Wing capable of barrel rolling. The Rebels have several pilots who can give focus tokens to friendly ships also, which means that Farrell can get 3 actions in a single game round. In fact, I think you could take a focus action, use his ability to boost or barrel roll, and then get assigned focus, such as from Kyle Katarn's Hawk 290, and then boost or barrel roll again. So this is a truly amazing ability and finally gives us an A-Wing that can maneuver as well, or possibly better in certain situations, than a TIE Interceptor. The other unique A-Wing pilot here is Jemmer Sojan. He costs 22 points and has a pilot skill of 5. When he's at range 1 of at least one enemy ship, his agility increases by 1. Stealth device on this guy means that when an opponent shoots at him from close range, he gets to roll 5 defense dice. Since A-Wings can take evade actions, that combo would make Sojan really tough to damage. No elite talent slot for him though, but there's a way for him to pick one up anyway that I'll be talking about shortly. You also get 1 copy each of the non-unique Green Squadron pilot and Prototype pilot, which are the same guys that come with the A-Wing expansion pack. Now let's look at the B-Wing pilots. Unlike the A-Wings, B-Wings didn't really need any sort of performance boost to make them competitive coming into this expansion. They've already been extremely tough and capable ships. What Rebel Aces does for the B-Wings, then, is give them some tools to make them more capable of flying apart from a formation and handling enemy flankers like TIE Phantoms and TIE Interceptors in one-on-one dogfights. Kyun Farlander is the first unique B-Wing pilot here. He costs 29 points and has a pilot skill of 7. When he makes an attack, he can remove a stress token and change all focus results into hits. This is a really great ability that turns having stress from a negative to a positive. With the push the limit on elite talent, this effectively lets Kyun take target lock and barrel roll actions and then use the stress as a focus token when he attacks. That's really good. Next up, we've got Neera Dantels. She's the named Dagger Squadron pilot I mentioned earlier, so the repainted B-Wing in this pack is a perfect thematic fit for her, which is cool. Neera costs 26 points and has a pilot skill of 5. She can fire her torpedoes in a 360-degree arc. B-Wings can load 2 torpedoes, which means that she's a pretty hard counter against those pesky Imperial Interceptors and Phantoms that are so good at staying out of firing arcs. This is a good ability, and it's also great to see the designers trying to get players to take another look at using torpedoes, which really don't get a whole lot of use. Neera can also take an elite talent. You also get fresh copies of both non-unique BWing pilots that came with the BWing expansion, Dagger Squadron Pilot and Blue Squadron Pilot. Okay, let's take a look at the new upgrade cards. These are all brand new to the game, exclusive to this expansion, although Proton Rockets will be included with the YT-2400 expansion in Wave 5. Proton Rockets is a 3-point cost missile upgrade. There are 2 copies included here. It requires a focus token on your ship to fire, but it doesn't discard the focus so you can use it with the attack. It rolls a base 2 attack dice plus extra dice equal to your agility up to a max of 3 additional dice. So okay, obviously on the Rebel side, the ship that can make the best use of this upgrade is the A-Wing, which will roll 5 attack dice. You need to be at range 1 to fire Proton Rockets, but A-Wings are good at closing the distance thanks to the boost action. So this is a good start to making the A-Wings more desirable. As an added bonus, this is also a great upgrade for the TIE Advanced, since it will also get the maximum 5 attack dice out of it. The TIE Defender can also get the full attack power, but Defenders might have a tougher time getting in close enough to make good use of it. There are 2 copies of a new systems upgrade called Enhanced Scopes. It costs 1 point and lets you treat your pilot skill as 0 during the activation phase. Now, in X-Wing, there are a lot of significant advantages to moving last, and that list keeps growing as new upgrade cards like Stay on Target and Advanced Sensors get added into the game. But it can also sometimes be advantageous to move first, and a pilot skill of 0 all but guarantees that. Moving first means you won't hit any enemy ships unless you want to, and it lets you get your ship into a blocking position before any enemy ships have moved, which can really mess up your opponent's plans if you correctly anticipate his maneuvers. I think this is the least amazing upgrade in this expansion, and I really wonder if there are scenarios where using this instead of Advanced Sensors would be desirable, but it's still an interesting option to have and play around with. Next, we've got the first A-Wing only title upgrade, A-Wing Test Pilot. You get 2 copies of this card, and it costs nothing. It adds an elite talent upgrade icon to the upgrade bar, as long as the pilot has a skill of 2 or greater, which is every A-Wing in the game except for the prototype pilot at this point. So this means that A-Wing pilots without access to elite talents will get 1, and those who already have it on their upgrade bar can now take 2. The card does stipulate that you can't use 2 copies of the same elite talent, but why would you? This opens up some really cool combo possibilities for those A-Wing pilots who can now take 2 elite talents. Tycho Selchu, Jake Farrell, and Green Squadron Pilot are the 3 pilots in the game currently who can make use of the double elite talent slots. This is a game-changing card right here, and it really locks in the designer's intention to get players dusting off their A-Wings and thinking about new build options. Rounding out the A-Wing love, you get 3 copies of Chardan Refit, an A-Wing only missile slot upgrade that has a cost of -2 points. This means that if you don't want to load a missile, you can now choose to subtract 2 points from your A-Wing instead. This might not seem like a huge deal, until you consider that previous to this card, the maximum number of A-Wings you could get in a 100-point squadron was 5. With Chardan Refits, you can now field a swarm of 6 A-Wings. It's still not as impressive as 8 TIE Fighters or Z-95 Headhunters, but it's a cool option nonetheless, and it'll be interesting to see if A-Wing swarms start appearing in tournaments. Of course, you don't need to use this card solely for swarm builds. An extra 2 points in this game can be significant. The difference between being able to take another really good elite talent, or modification, or astromech droid in your squadron. There are loads of great 2-point upgrade cards in the game. You get 2 copies of the BWing only modification called BWing/E2. This card costs 1 point and adds a crew slot to your upgrade bar. So this is huge, and it brings a ton of new build options into the game for B-Wings. C-3PO, Lando, or Chewbacca can make B-Wings harder to destroy. Gunners or Han Solo will make their attacks even more frightening. Nien Nunb turns all straight maneuvers green, letting B-Wings become more mobile. This single card gives B-Wings an unprecedented level of customization. Finally, You get crew versions of Kyle Katarn and Jan Ors. These are both pilots for the Hawk 290 that come with that expansion, and they're both unique Rebel-only upgrades. Kyle Katarn costs 3 points and lets you take a focus token when you remove a stress token from your ship. This is a cool ability and has some nice synergy with Kyun Farlander's BWing. Jan Ors costs 2 points. She lets a friendly ship within ranges 1 to 3 take an evade token instead of a focus token when that ship is assigned focus. What's especially cool about these two is that when used in conjunction with the Hawk 290 pilot version of the other, they've got really good synergy. Kyle piloting with Jan's crew lets his ship hand focus or evade tokens to friendly ships. Jan piloting with Kyle as crew lets you convert the stress from Jan's action into focus tokens. Since Kyle and Jan are pilot and co-pilot of the Moldy Crow, it's nice to see that they've finally got the ability to fly together and that they gain complementary new abilities. Okay, so that's Rebel Aces. This is a very strong expansion with lots of great new stuff, especially for the beleaguered A-Wing. The combination of the new A-Wing title and Chardon refit, plus the amazing Jake Farrell, really brings this little dogfighter into the spotlight for the Rebels. Giving B-Wings the ability to carry crew upgrades is also huge, and both of the new B-Wing pilots have awesome abilities. If this is the direction that the new designers have in mind for the game, I'm excited. Thank you for watching the Cardboard Dungeons X-Wing ship reviews. We'll see you next time.